Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwantner, and welcome to Selling Power's Daily Report. Yesterday we talked with Rick Winook about the sales process. Today we're going to continue our conversation. We talk about a best practice system. Rick, what is a best practice system?
A best practice is sound advice that gets passed along from generation to generation. That's my metaphor of a best practice. In other words, is that the value is not necessarily in the training principles or the training concepts. The value is in the application of those within a real world selling environment. That's the action skill. That's the value. That is a best practice.
So we're not talking about knowledge, we're not talking about insight, we're talking about application of that knowledge.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how do we find best practices? How do we identify them in the company? How do we record them? And how do we make them available for everybody?
I'll use the analogy of CPR because I believe a best practice system breathes life into the sales process. And with the C is you have to capture those strategies and approaches that are successful. The P is for process integration. You have to integrate those best practices into your selling process. And most importantly, you have to have that repeatability of those best practices within your framework of your sales process. Now, as a result of that, that's when you're going to get the efficiencies, improved performance, efficiencies, and productivity.
Okay, in the concrete. How does it work? Give me an example.
You have to align your forecast with what you know about the opportunity as opposed to what activity that you have conducted. For example, if you have two opportunities where you both did a proof presentation, but the one opportunity you don't have any competition, the other opportunity you have 3 or 4 of your competitors. Now, if you forecasted those based on the activity, they would be weighted the same. So you have to incorporate what you know about the opportunity as opposed to what activity was conducted for that opportunity.
Well, that's easier said than done. It's easy to dispense the advice. How do you reinforce it so it's actually being done?
You have to create a culture of continuous improvement where you're focused on that and ingrain that habit. And to be honest with you, Gerhard, there are different strategies for different opportunities. So a sales professional will have to try many different strategies and approaches. For example, befriending that executive assistant is not the only approach that they should go ahead and use for all their opportunities. It could be successful in one, not successful in other. So that's all part of the best practices, to continue to revise it and improve on those best practices.
Who is actually in charge of the sales process of a sales organization?
Generally, what we like to propose and recommend is to go ahead and have several key sponsors within an organization. Because again, although it's a sales process, there's many different people that touch that sales pipe. All the way from being the marketing executive all the way to the operations. So we like to collectively have one executive sponsor, generally the sales VP, but also to have that collaboration across the executive team.
So the VP of sales is also the chief best practice officer.
Absolutely. That's generally what we see in many of the successful organizations.
So we have talked about capturing the best practices and documenting them, integrating into the organization. Now, how about disseminating that information? How is that done?
We see primarily 3 ways that's effective, and as technology continues to evolve, there's going to be many other different ways. But the ones that right now that we're primarily focused on, is a traditional written type of approach. It is very archaic in some ways, but in some organizations it does work very well. The other 2 areas, Gerhard, are capturing it on video and capturing it and disseminating it through podcasts.
So what you're saying, you've got to keep up with the times and continually improve your sales process. Otherwise, you're going to be overtaken by the competition, right?
Absolutely, because if you're not taking a look at your sales process, you know that your competitors are.
Thank you so much, Rick, for sharing this information. And tune in tomorrow. It's Selling Power Daily Report. Thank you.